So, have you ever sent an email to a donor, waited, followed up, still heard nothing? You're communicating with these donors, but you're not actually connecting with them. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's an email that you've sent, or a text message, or a direct message through a social media platform. There's no real conversation happening. So, today we're going to talk about the difference between communicating and connection, and why real conversations still matter more than ever in fundraising. That is our focus on this episode. Let's huddle up. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fund Coach. I'm Mark Duncan, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to me, and it challenges me a great deal, in full disclosure, when I am working directly with clients, either privately or in my academy. And that is this whole idea of making that first connection, that first contact to secure a visit with a donor. You've identified who the people are in your database because you've done the adequate wealth screening, you've done all your homework, you've done your due diligence. Even your board members are assisting in ways they should be to door open for you. But you've got to take that very first step, and you've got to reach out to them to schedule that visit. Now, I'll admit I'm a little old school. I don't know if it has to do with my generation or my age, or I'm just way more comfortable in conversation with people than I am, and I'm talking about actual conversation, either in person or by phone or video conference, than I am through text messaging, and email. And and that's just my personal preference, but I will say that I have found it to be very effective in fundraising. And no matter how much technology we have, nothing replaces that direct connection that you have with someone that you're making through an actual conversation, whether it's face to face, whether it's video or phone. So, we're going to be talking about this today and how important this is. Now, it doesn't matter. I understand what the reality is. I get it. We are in a day where, you know, technology is extremely important, extremely helpful. We obviously have the things that have been around for a while: email, text messaging, those kinds of things. And now AI is definitely more commonplace. But nothing takes the place of an actual personal connection with someone. And what you're trying to do with your donors, especially new people that you've identified who have capacity to give in a significant way, is you've got to build trust. And the only way to build trust is through authentic connecting. And so with email, text, direct messages, they're fast, right? They feel efficient. Oh, I always ask, "Hey, did you reach out to these 5 people or these 10 people this week?" "Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did." And in my mind, I'm thinking that the phone call is being made. But in most cases, it's an email. And I always suggest, if there's any way you take anything you take away from this episode, is that when you are reaching out to somebody to build a relationship with them, because that's what you're doing first. You're ultimately going to solicit them for a gift, but you've got to build that relationship, that connection. That's what's going to get you the greatest return on that investment of time, is making that connection, building that trust. And so the first thing you need to do is pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and give them a call. And if they don't answer, leave a voicemail. Yeah, I said it. I know I've said this in a prior episode as well. I know this is taboo among younger generations, and I hate to generalize, but I am finding that to be, very, very accurate and very, very true. That voicemail is just not something that people will leave anymore. And I suggest that you do. And then even if you leave a voicemail, because you're likely, if you're calling from your office phone, most likely you're calling a cell phone. And if that person doesn't have your number in their cell phone and you call and they see a number they don't recognize, or they may get a generic read of something that is from your organization, which is better than nothing, the likelihood is that they're not going to answer the call. They're going to let it go to voicemail. So leave a voicemail. And then I highly recommend that you follow up that voicemail with an email letting them know that you just left a voicemail message. Now, this seems like overkill, but you're trying to get to them by phone first and ultimately face to face. That is important. And so I cannot emphasize this enough. If you think that you've sent emails to, you've got a top 25 list of prospects and you've emailed 10 of them to schedule visits with them and they haven't responded, but you feel like you've accomplished something because, oh, I can check that off my list. I've connected with them. You haven't connected with them. You've communicated to them using email, text messaging, direct messaging, whatever that may be, but you haven't connected with them yet. And that's the ultimate objective. And this typically happens with folks who are hesitant about asking. Now, I recognize that as nonprofit leaders, not everybody is an extrovert. Not everybody is, I mean, you bring a certain skill set of leadership to your organization, and that does not always require that you be an extrovert. It requires that you be an expert in the space that you are overseeing in terms of implementing services, vision, um, all those things that you need to run an organization well. Doesn't always have to mean that you are somebody who is comfortable talking with people. Get that. I also get the I think the generational difference as well. Technology makes it easier for us to reach out to people. It makes it easier for us to connect with them. I'm almost hesitant to even say what I'm about to say, but there was a time when there were no voicemails to leave. There was a time you would call someone at their home or their office and it would just ring, especially at their home. Sometimes someone would have an answering machine. Voicemail was just becoming a thing when I was a young fundraiser. And so it was important for me to connect. And so I had to have your work number and your home number if I wanted to get in touch with you. Now you just need one number and it's so much easier. But what I see happening is there's a falling back on, well, I sent that email, I sent that text message. It's now on them to respond. And it really is on you to connect with them. So when you stay behind a screen, right? And I'm, not just talking about a computer screen, I'm talking about your phone screen, whatever that may be, as you're writing these text messages. Here's what happens. As much as you mean to convey to them a message with a tone in which you are hearing as you are writing it, that tone can get lost. Your intent can be misunderstood. Your message can feel transactional, and relationships can stay shallow, especially if you're staying connected that way. I often, as a now as a business owner, I often am reached out to sponsor something, and it's usually through email. That's a solicitation. And I don't respond to those. I only respond to those if it is a repeat solicitation. In other words, if there was an event or something that I've sponsored in the past and they want me to sponsor it again, and they reach out to me via email to make me aware of it because I have a relationship with this person, then that email is just it's an extension of that connection. It's not the only way that we're communicating. And so that's okay. But if you're, asking me to sponsor an event or even reaching out to me through direct messaging on LinkedIn, which I get often, for people to ask me to consider giving to something or sponsoring something, you know, we don't know each other that well. And so the reason why you're going to get a zero response is because it's just a communication. It's not a connection. And we have to recognize the importance of this. The objective here is to build trust, building trust on behalf of the organization that you're representing. And yes, there are ways that you can build trust through your website and through other materials that you can share to convey what you're doing as an organization. But if you're trying to connect with an individual who has capacity to give in a significant way, then you've got to build a trusting relationship with them. And that does not happen via email or text messages. So I highly, highly recommend that you transition from that to phone calls. Yes, picking up the phone, dialing that number, letting it ring, hoping someone will answer. And when they answer, you can make that appointment with them to see them in person. Now, if you can't see someone in person because of geographic distance, that is okay. Then schedule a video conference meeting through whatever platform you want to use. Because the only building trust also involves eye contact, body language, inflection. Let them see how passionate you are about your mission when you're talking to them about who you are and what you do. Let them see that. Let them feel that. Now, I'm hoping that I'm wrong when I say this, but I hope we're not at a point where that no longer matters. I believe we're not there. I believe that we're not there. I believe that trust happens when we connect interpersonally, and interpersonal connections happen through face to face meetings or the next best thing. And that's video conferencing or a phone call. You're able to, at least with all three of those, your tone's not going to be misinterpreted. You're going to be able to see body language. You may even be able to anticipate questions that they're going to ask by the body language that they're conveying to you. It may also tell you, as you continue to build that connection, when it is time to ask. But just to get in front of them, if you're just using email or text messaging, it's going to take you longer to connect with them. It's going to take you longer to get in front of them. This is a topic that I think requires a lot of reflection. If you're listening or you're watching this, I'm certain that you're probably thinking about how you fit into this, how you operate, how you're reaching out to donors, and the fact that I'm encouraging you to call, right? That may raise some anxiety because you're calling somebody you've never spoken to before. But you want to build that trust. You want to engage as best as you can on behalf of your mission. And you want to give a first impression, and you want to let them know that as a leader, you are here to connect with them, answer questions, build that relationship, convey to them that the work that you're doing for the people that you serve is worth their support. So I'm not anti technology at all. In fact, I'm probably just the opposite. Technology is allowing me to communicate to those of you who are listening and watching this in a way that was not possible 20, 30 years ago. But there are people who watch and listen to this podcast that I've never connected with. It has become a tool for people to connect with me. I run into people who say that I listen to or watch your podcast. It's nice to meet you. And then I'm able to build that connection with them. But it is absolutely imperative that if you want a 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, $100,000 gift, and the only way that you are reaching out to somebody is through email and text messages, they probably are not going to respond. And it's not because they don't care. That's not it. You and I are constantly getting emails and text messages. So much so that we skim through them. And if we see, if a number comes up and it's not a number we recognize, whether they leave a voicemail or not, most times there's no voicemail, you know, that's left. I'm just going to move on. Must not have been important enough. Your objective is to use this technology to get in front of them. Don't let that technology be the sole source of how you are communicating with them, because that's all you're doing. You're not connecting. Now, once you have established that relationship, established that trust, yes, email, text messages, um, social media, all of these tools can be used as part of the connection, but it cannot be in place of. It is not a tool. These are not tools to create strong connections. So, my advice to you is if you are looking at a list of prospects after you've done your due diligence, you've done your research, you know that you have 300, 400 people in your database that have a significant net worth. They've been giving to your organization transactionally, right? In a very small way. And that's because that is a reflection of the relationship that they have with you as an organization. They're giving because they care. But trust me, many of them are giving 50, 100, 125, maybe $200 when they can do significantly more because they're basically opting in and they are saying, hello, I'm here. And if you take the next step to build a connection with me, to build a relationship with me, there's more there. So it's all right there in front of you, especially if you're an organization that's been around for a while. You're engaged in transactional fundraising activities. You're getting some results from that. Maybe they're not big results in terms of the size of gifts, but you're seeing some consistency. And now you just have to take the next step. So the next time you're taking a look at that list of prospects that you've identified who meet link, interest, and ability, and now you just need to build that relationship, build that connection. Pick up the phone, call them. If they don't answer, leave a voicemail and then send an email to let them know that you left a voicemail. Each time you try to reach out to them, call, because next time you call them, they'll likely pick up because they are expecting your call. Some will go as far as to put your number in their contacts so that they will recognize that it's you that's calling. Don't let technology be the barrier to your fundraising success. Don't just communicate, connect. I hope this has been helpful to you. And as always, this fundraising thing, it's not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.